It's just not gonna fucking... Like, you can try. No, I'm not doing it, dude. I did do this to you, Anonymous Hollis. I literally... It was me. I gave you the addiction. But think of all the memories. Okay, let's see.
Gaza Strip. Notice how there's a reversal here? But overall, Hamas's movement has become more popular in the West Bank because they don't exist under the Hamas governance and they don't see the retaliation.
Okay, we'll see what Hassan's talking about for a bit,
and when Hamas operates like this, they are operating, and they very openly say this. They're doing this for the West Bank Palestinians.
Okay, Sap, everyone, get in.
But when you have nothing, and this oppressive force, this occupying force that is occupying your family, when this occupying force is just destroying you, and it's killing your family, killing your way of existence over and over again, relentlessly killing everything you know, then yeah, people are gonna fucking be like, I don't care. I don't give a shit who's resisting.
Get in, everyone.
At least someone is resisting. Do you understand?
I'll be back in a second.
So the question you should be asking is, how do we get here? What happened? How did we get here? How did this militant resistance force that was infinitely less popular in its inception and for many, many years rise to this level of popularity where they actually now maintain majority support even in Gaza? My camera is moving. It's not a fucking earthquake. Shut the fuck up. It's because I'm moving the fucking desk, okay? When I'm talking. Jesus Christ, chatters. Fuck. Anyway. That's what my parents don't get for some reason. Nobody's like, I want to fight back, and this group is the only avenue I have, but I don't agree with them ideologically, so oh well. Yeah. And then as far as non-regional actors goes, Russia is the most popular one. Then China. And then Germany, surprisingly. What the fuck? I don't think these guys have a lot of access though in the Gaza Strip. I don't think they have access to figure out what the fuck Germany's been doing. So maybe that's why they have this like approval for Germany's actions, because it's not. That's very weird. Legislative and presidential elections. If the new presidential elections were held today and only two candidates, Mahmoud Abbas and Ismail Haniyeh, the voter turnout would only be 53%. And among those who would participate, Abbas would receive 16% of the vote.
Listeners, it's time for SAP. What are you doing?
78%, compared to 58% for Haniyeh and 37% for Abbas 3 months ago. In the Gaza Strip, the vote for Abbas stands at 24% and Haniyeh at 71%. While in the West Bank, Abbas receives 10% and Haniyeh 82%. If the presidential competition is between three, Marwan Barghouti, Abbas, and Haniyeh, participation would rise to 71%. And among those voting, Barghouti receives 47%, Haniyeh 43%, and Abbas 7%. 3 months ago, support for Barghouti stood at 49%, Haniyeh at 36%, and Abbas at 13%. Okay? The 7% number is so stable for Abbas, I legitimately think it's just like party loyalists. Okay? If the presidential election competition is between the two, Marwan Barghouti and Haniyeh, participation rises to 69%. Nice. And among those voting, Barghouti receives 51, Haniyeh 45. 3 months ago, the Barghouti stood at 60% and Haniyeh at 37. Why has the popularity of Ismail Haniyeh risen through this process?
Earthquake?
Well, because of the thing that I just mentioned to
What's going
you.
on?
He is seen as the leader of the resistance. He is seen as the only group that is willing to fight back against Israel's unjustifiable war crimes. This is why you cannot
he's just shaking the desk.
at,
Lol.
This is why you cannot look at the situation on the boundaries of like American understandings of the world. You cannot look at the situation and be like, oh, I don't really understand this. Like, what the fuck's going on? October 7 is not the first day for Palestinians, okay? October 7 is one of the instances where the Palestinians have resistance against the occupation in methods that you don't agree with. I certainly don't. But that doesn't change the reality that it is an act of resistance. Okay?
An earthquake caused by my fat ass. Okay. You can stream much longer? Probably. Like, I can't play Lethal Company, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I have to work on the Hasnari Rewind. I want to play some SAP, and also my aunt is here, and I can't.
Can Marwan Barghouti, the
like, if I'm
Palestinian
playing a
Mandela,
scary
bring peace
game,
to Gaza?
I can't
Hamas
scream.
has said the group would only release all 240 Israeli hostages held in Gaza if Israel agrees to free
Toxic
all
is going to be
Palestinian prisoners.
sad.
Among those locked
Toxic
up is
can
Marwan Barghouti,
go do
sentenced
her
to life
fucking
imprisonment in
job
2004
and,
for
like,
deadly attacks against Israelis.
like,
For many
moderate his son's
Palestinians,
chat.
their Nelson Mandela is a leader in waiting.
Okay, SAP chatters, it's the last
former leader
call.
of
Are we
Tanzim,
waiting for anybody else?
The militant faction of Fatah was sentenced to 5 life terms in prison for multiple counts of murder and membership of a terrorist organization. Every time there's an internal crisis or a flare with Israel, his name comes up, said Jean-Paul Chagnelard, head of Institut de Recherche d'études Méditerranée Moyen-Orient, a Paris-based think tank. He was arrested over 20 years ago during the Second Intifada. He was a very active Fatah leader and was not assassinated. That's an important detail because at the time there were many targeted assassinations and he wasn't one of them. He was arrested, and I don't think that was by accident. He played a key role in signing the prisoners' document in 2006 written by Palestinian prisoners affiliated with Fatah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The text called for the creation of the Palestinian state on the 1967 borders, for Palestinian resistance to be limited to territories occupied in 1967, for a mutual ceasefire to be respected,
we're gonna
and
start
for
then.
Palestinians to uphold their right to resist
see the new
occupation in
weekly.
accordance with international law. And yes, okay, on October 20th, this article was written by the American Prospect by Jerome Carabel.
First
saying,
time
to free
snapping? Good luck.
Palestine's Nelson
Don't
Mandela,
stress if you don't do well.
Marwan
It's fine.
Barghouti.
It's a little bit stressful, but you're going to learn this way, I promise. Oh, we got fish. We got you.
So if you are wondering if they're like who could potentially lead, it's this guy. Now, of course, would Israel allow that? Fuck no. While in prison, Mandela's convictions drove him to learn Afrikaans, the language of his captors. Barghouti, in turn, has spent his time in jail becoming fluent in Hebrew. Both men advocated for peaceful coexistence with, not the annihilation of, their adversaries. One should not romanticize. Neither Mandela nor Barghouti were devotees of Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr.'s nonviolent philosophy. Both believed that armed resistance to oppression was sometimes justified. As early as 1953, Mandela advocated armed resistance, classified by the South African regime as a terrorist, and was on the American terror watch list, by the way. Nelson Mandela was until 2008. And while Barghouti rejected violence in the early years of the Oslo peace process, claiming that in 1994 the armed struggle is no longer an option for us, he later embraced armed struggle as he watched Israel expand settlements of the West Bank and consolidate control. But by 2012, Barghouti admitted that the turn to violence during the Second Intifada had been a grave error and has repeatedly stated that he supports only unarmed resistance. Crucially, both Mandela and Barghouti arrived at hard-won recognition that after years of relentless struggle, they would have to learn to live with their longtime enemy. Recognizing, as he put it in his eulogy of Mandela, that they must defy hatred, choose justice over vengeance, Barghouti supports, in exchange for an end to the Israeli occupation that began in 1967, a permanent peace.
Who wants Los Pipos?
between Israel and Palestine as independent and equal neighbors. As such, he stands in stark contrast to Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, who steadfastly refuses to recognize Israel. Which we added 30 bits to Summer Plasma's cheer bonus bits unlocked. What the fuck? This is the actual Twitch account in the chat?
Bro, come into my chat and give me some fucking bits,
Armed
Twitch.
struggle needs to exist for an unarmed option for an exit strategy. I love
Yo, Twitch. Where's my 60 bits?
In the United States of America, okay, or wherever you are, telling a dude who literally did armed struggle, okay, and has been in prison for 27 years, being like, no, dog, you don't know any better. I, on the other hand, do. Now, obviously, it's a combination, and I don't think that Barghouti is across the board someone who doesn't think that there's no resistance at all. I'm in Canada from Iraq, dude. Lived through 2 wars. Okay. Well, this guy lived through and also suffered the consequences and is still suffering the consequences. Let him have his peace. Okay? Anyway. So, here's the thing. I forget. I think Rashid Khalidi had a conversation with Mortaza and Scahill on the Intercepted podcast, where he brought up a really interesting point that I haven't really talked about at all. Which is, fuck, I
Toxic.
think it was...
You're so funny. Don't get robbed
like
now.
Algerian resistance figure. Fuck, who was it? Rashid Khalidi
I like the weekly so far.
A Palestinian scholar, of course. He's the Edward Said scholar. Anyway.
Bro, you were so good early game.
I forget who it was, but it wasn't Fanon. No. I forget who it was that the Palestinians brought in to like look at their methods of resistance. And one of the points that was brought up, that Rashid Khalid brought up, was that it could have been Iqbal Ahmad, maybe? I don't know. I have to look this up. Hold on. Or no, it wasn't him, no.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Don't worry, you'll get there, chatter. This is my second most used emote last year after Hassel. Aww.
They brought this dude up. They brought this dude.
It is a good emote.
I'm gonna find it now. Fuck it. Hold on. Hold on, Rashid. ED Intercepted. It was about targeting civilians. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Justin Trudeau of Canada. I think it's unprecedented. No, they're talking about the civilian casualties on the Palestinian side.
I'm ripperoniing. Let's go.
Maybe there's a paradigm shift to the great extent being Palestinian civilians.
Mol is so, like, I know holy moly, but, like, it's actually so fucking mid.
I said Israel suffered this level of civilian casualties ever before. Let me see if I can find it. However, what has happened as a result is Israel has unleashed the ordinary Palestinians to pay the ultimate price. Position large-scale killing of civilians.
Okay, we've got a plan.
They had the experience. People who ordered have lost, Mohammed Daif and others who actually
Gotta draw
ordered it.
Pog. Sorry, it's difficult in the beginning.
This was part of what they envisaged. I have to assume it was intentional. In addition to large-scale killing of civilians, some at least, which must have ordered, some of which have uncontrolled people that came from the territory. Yep. Israeli civilians. Oh, here. Okay, here. This is it. I found it. Murtaza says, in your book, even now, you actually explain very, very well in this manner in which Hamas has managed to take advantage of the deliberate weakening of the PLO by Israel. And most recently, in the wake of Oslo, did not adhere to the spirit or the tenets of the agreement that have continued to colonize territories, which should be
Thank you. Oh my God, it's so fucked up.
And Hamas has taken advantage of that dissatisfaction.
Why is it so fucked up? I didn't want to.
There's a really interesting part of the book where you mention in the 80s a Pakistani anti-colonial
Why is it doing that? I'm sorry. Why is it so big?
Named Iqbal Ahmad.
I'll fix it.
The chatter was correct. Who visited the PLO? It is Iqbal Ahmad.
A professional streamer.
And he was somebody who was very much involved in supporting the FLN in Algeria and other resistance movements. And he advised them at the time that because of the particular nature of Israeli colonialism, the tactic of using violence against Israeli civilians probably would not be successful because it would further entrench certain themes of victimhood and solidarity among the Israeli public. And he advised, not for necessarily legal or moral reasons, because this is a guy who, obviously...
I didn't want it to do this.
This is a guy who he's like the...
Oh, fuck. I can't fix it now, unfortunately.
The PricewaterhouseCoopers consultant of, militant resistance against colonial movements, okay? You're bringing this guy in who is a scholar, a thinker, who's done a lot of work and has hands-on experience in basically militant resistance against an occupation, right? And he says, not for necessarily for legal or moral reasons, strictly for rational and strategic reasons, to take a different tack in the PLO's form of resistance against Israel. And they did. The PLO actually adopted a non-violent and more conciliatory, or still a resistance format, but not using the same tactics they had before. And then, in abandoning that, their star continued to rise, and they became in position to negotiate with Israel and the U.S. in later years.
Shouldn't be doing that for Twitch.
But then Hamas picked up the mantle of violent resistance, specifically targeting Israeli civilians. And we saw that during the Second Intifada, which, unlike the First Intifada, which was largely peaceful, in the Second Intifada, you saw a lot of violence by Hamas.
Bro,
to which Rashid says, I think it's really worth revisiting what Iqbal Ahmad said. He was not a partisan of nonviolence. He himself had been involved with the FLN, the Front de Libération Nationale in Algeria.
Well,
now, no, because they were peaceful. They were a great patsy to use. Brother, I don't think you're understanding.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I'm going to have to sort out my alerts tomorrow.
Ain't nobody in this conversation is saying that violent resistance to an occupying apartheid regime is morally impermissible. Everyone is saying that if it is well within the legal boundaries, okay, according to international humanitarian law, and it's also totally morally permissible. The difference is methods and tactics.
One of each
These
tier?
are very important. And when you look at methods and tactics,
Tier 3,
if
tier
you look
1,
at methods and tactics,
tier 3, tier
at least
3,
a dude that has a lot
one.
more experience in successfully engaging in an act of decolonial violence that was dished out against civilian populations as well, like in Algeria. The difference between the French in Algeria, and I'll tell you, the difference between French and Algeria and
we do need a scaler.
Israelis in Israel proper is that despite the fact that Israel might have the highest number of dual citizenships out of most other countries, it still doesn't change the reality that
this is a little
many
bit
of the
silly,
Israelis,
but I sort of
especially
have to.
Israeli Jews, do not have any other place to go. The French, on the other hand, living in Algeria, certainly have somewhere to go. They have France, which many of them did go to. The French just went to France. I remember a quote that is from an Algerian, I think it was like an Algerian resistance FLN person.
Oh, sick!
Who literally said,
gifted subs. Oh, by the way, guys, for all of my Jewish, Muslim, and non-Christian chatters, not like culturally Christian chatters, I will be here streaming for you on Christmas.
And in a moment,
I will find something really fun to do. Okay. Any ideas? Like, please, like, let me know in the Discord, and we'll do something really fun.
The idea is that the French and the violence in that anti-colonial resistance movement, the violence against even civilians, was seen as a successful method of decolonialization. This is not a moral conversation.
Exclamation mark
we're
Discord.
simply talking about the tactics.
I'm only culturally Muslim. Can I come? Of course. Anyone's welcome. That's the whole point. My dad used to do this thing where on Christmas he would invite people who he knew didn't have a family. This is like why my dad is like, you know, everyone's got their problems, but my dad is just like such a good person. He used to invite like people who had like no family,
that's why I just said,
you know, people who were just like alone.
The second doesn't get tragically erased just by
to come
I don't think you understood what I said. That's why I said 36%
to our Christmas, and it was just always like so incredibly sweet.
36%. And by the way, I'm not even saying
and my dad
that, like,
makes like our Christmas food at home is fucking insane, dude. Like they such insane foodies, you know. So like it would always be like a really good meal.
Majority of Israelis, which obviously of course includes
I'm a Quaker. No day is more special than the other. I too will be there here for you, of course.
Unlike the
I
French,
unironically like the thing is like I think we in South Africa should celebrate Christmas in the middle of winter, because like Christmas was a pagan thing, right? Like but it wasn't meant to be like this religious, like insane like devotion to. It was adopted by Christians, right? But it was a pagan thing, like the middle of the solstice, right? Like everyone's getting seasonal depression, everyone's struggling, and it's something to look forward to, you know. And I like to see in that sort of way of like just something like everyone can sort of slowly work towards, like, you know, just a respite. And I like thinking of it in that sort of way. It doesn't have to be a day that's more special than anyone else, but it is a day where everyone just needs to like, this is time for you to like make sure like you show everyone like how much you care about them and all of that sort of stuff, you know. Anyway,
the notion of like not our problem is
I'm taking an L
while we're literally talking about this entirely in the Western world from entirely a Western perspective, where I'm trying to show people a different moral framework, a different a framework, a different rationality. Okay.
And
you're over here being like, nah, dog, not my problem. Like, shut up. First of all, you're not going to achieve anything. Okay? You're not going to achieve anything. I'm in Jordan so close soon, inshallah. Listen, there's no success here. Like, you're not going to achieve shit. So just shut up and listen to an actual Palestinian scholar who definitely knows more than you, regardless of your own personal experience being a Palestinian living in fucking Jordan. Okay? Because this is not my perspective. I'm trying to deliver to you information from at least Rashid Khalidi. Okay?
Chicken is actually really good.
Anyway, Eqbal Ahmad was not a partisan of nonviolence. He himself had been involved with the FLN, the Front de Libération Nationale in Algeria. He worked with Frantz Fanon in Tunis on FLN propaganda. He believed in armed struggle, actually. And he was an intellectual. He was working in propaganda, but he was not an apostle of nonviolence by any means.
I ran out of time. I ran out of time.
Lebanon to assess the PLO strategy. I think the PLO probably assumed, well, he's going to tell us the best way to do this. And what he came back with
the war on
was
Christmas.
that no, whereas violent resistance and armed struggle are perfectly justified in certain circumstances and necessary in others,
I deserve that.
Against this specific enemy, which is to say Israel, which emerges out of a specific history of Jewish people, violence against civilians in particular is inadvisable. And he made that argument at a time when actually the PLO was having success only on the political level.
Yeah, we'll play more games after this.
If you go back and look at the 60s, 70s, early 80s, the PLO was enormously successful diplomatically in much of the world. The first time that a Palestinian addressed in an international forum was Arafat's address
to the Discord
General
link
Assembly
not
in
working,
1974.
Chad?
This is really important to comprehend because that's precisely what Israel knows, and that is precisely what Israel has tried to fucking stop time and time again. the reason why I've talked about the no partner in peace narrative that Israel has designed, concocted, where Benjamin Netanyahu has openly stated time and time again that, if you want to thwart Palestinian statehood, then you have to prop up Hamas as the negotiating partner, and that you have to squash any other kind of political movement.
Okay,
because everyone recognizes Hamas as a violent, militant, terrorist faction. Okay? And we can always deal with them. We can always control how high the flames go. Okay?
Only you've got.
There's a reason.
Thank you. I'm pinning this.
There's a reason why Arafat was humiliated, destroyed, neutered, and there's a reason why the Palestinian Authority continued along the remaining years of Arafat's legacy by continuing to be an even worse apparatus for the Israeli
for a permanent
security.
link, the server needs to be boosted. So I'm not gonna. We don't need to worry about that.
The Palestinians, they worked against Palestinians. They locked up Palestinian leaders at the behest of Israel. That's the reason why Palestinians look to that and go, only 7% support for only 7% support for Abbas, and only 11% support for Fatah in general.
Doesn't work either. Okay, then it's you.
Okay. This did not happen overnight. Hamas was not a popular movement.
Unfortunately.
By any means, historically. Hamas itself also was not a movement that deliberately targeted civilians until Baruch Goldstein and the massacre in the mosque. Like, even their militant resistance framework shifted onto Israeli civilians. None of this justifies it, of course. I do not agree with that. So why should we not strive for Israel to be dissolved? Brother, I am an advocate for the dissolution of the apartheid structure. I am a believer that Israel already is operating as one state that occupies 5 million Palestinian bodies. Okay? That has to stop. We are simply talking about methods that are deemed successful. Methods that could be successful. Methods that have seen success.
Yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to join.
The irony is, something that a lot of people in the Western world don't recognize is the reality that Hamas itself recognizes. Despite being the militant resistance party, the militant resistance group,
joined
Hamas itself
today.
Revamped its charter in 2017, okay, and started communicating very differently with Israel. Part of the reason was because they wanted to do the PLO
Unfortunately,
thing.
chatter, sorry about that.
And of course, that was not allowed. That was never permissible. That was not going to happen. But that's the reason why currently Israel can negotiate with Hamas, regardless of whether or not they claim that they can't and that these guys are all terrorists.
Oh, it worked on mobile? That's interesting.
So why are you in the motherfucking Western world outflanking Hamas on tactics? Anyway.
I'm assuming there's no
Let's continue
pill.
Talking about this. Good faith argument. Why should Palestinian freedom fighters extend the logic of Israelis have nowhere to go when Palestinians literally have nowhere to go and are being mercilessly bombed by Israel? What? The idea here is keeping your violent resistance directed at actual fucking soldiers and not civilians. Civilian casualties are going to happen no matter what. Okay?
No pill. Okay. I see.
No matter what. But they must be kept to a minimum.
And difficult scaling.
When you don't have fucking, the same targeted striking capabilities that Israel has, or the population registry that Israel has in Gaza and in the West Bank. Okay?
Discord did have a recent mobile app update, but I don't know why that should change anything.
The
That's
first
just generally
time that a
like
Palestinian addressed the
cosmetic.
International Forum was Arafat's address to the General Assembly in 1974. The PLO was recognized and had diplomatic missions in 100 countries by 1980s. I describe it in my book as one of the few successes of Palestinian nationalism. The PLO's essentially diplomatic and informational campaign. Now, that was paired with a nominal strategy of armed struggle and with attacks on Israel, including attacks on civilians. But the victories really won on the diplomatic and global and informational level. This is
it's over. Well done, Rick.
And also, another thing that I want to mention. If you think that Israel did not believe that the pen is mightier than the sword in many instances, they would not have fucking executed people like fuck, I'm gonna fuck up his name right now. Hassan Kanafani. Okay? Because Ghassan Kanafani did not ever fucking take a weapon and shoot it. That's not what he did. He was not that at all. He was an author. And they fucking executed him. And I believe his cousin alongside him too. They do that on purpose because they also recognize that internationally, the way that the resistance is seen is very important. If you can appropriately humanize Palestinian resistance against a sea of dehumanization that Israel engages with, it was his niece, sorry, not his cousin. That is significantly more dangerous. I believe Rafat, who was executed alongside his family in Gaza last week, said something similar about the power of poetry. I wonder if I can find it now. In a lecture,
the classic on and off.
I listened to him talk about. I listened to him talk about how important poetry is, and how important and how powerful poetry is.
Mm.
Does anyone have it? Not his final poem.
I'm on TV. Yes, you are, foreign sticks.
A lecture on a college campus where he is specifically talking about how he himself oftentimes forgets the importance of poetry. Like how important a role, it's not a TED Talk, how important a role art plays. I think he even brought up, not Ghassan, no, Rafat. Rafat Al-Arir is the one who I'm talking about. Was this, I think this literally was the one, but this is like not, the part I'm looking for is a specific part. Where I think, was it David Ben-Gurion who specifically said, where I think it was like, he brings up David Ben-Gurion, I think, where he says that David Ben-Gurion saw like the writings of a famous Palestinian poet and thought, this is going to fuck us over. Let me see if I can. You have yelled at Palestinians in the chat for asking for justice. You have mentioned reparations as a form of justice. Is that all you think is appropriate? I'm genuinely asking, does reparations seem like nowhere near enough? So besides reparations, what other forms of justice can we hope for? I don't know. Jailing fucking war criminals would be a good one. I've mentioned this before. Truth and Reconciliation Committee, jailing of fucking war criminals, making an adequate assessment, reparations for Palestinians, and an allowance for a right to return. Those are, he said it was more dangerous than 10 soldiers. Oh, I think this is it. Yep, this is it. This is the quote I was looking for. I watched the video, though. I don't know where it is. But anyway, I'm watching this right now, and Rafat says the following. Of course, we always fall into this trap of saying she, Fadwa Tukan, was arrested for just writing poetry. We do this a lot, even us believers in literature. We say, why would Israel arrest somebody or put someone under house arrest? She only wrote a poem. So we contradict ourselves sometimes. We believe in the power of literature changing lives as a means of resistance, as a means of fighting back. And then at the end of the day, we say, she just wrote a poem. We shouldn't be saying that. Moshe Dayan, it wasn't David Ben Gurion, it was Moshe Dayan, an Israeli general, said that the poems of Fadwa Tukan are like facing 20 enemy fighters. Wow, she didn't throw stones. She didn't shoot at invading Israeli jeeps. She just wrote poetry. And I'm falling for that again. I say she just wrote poetry. And the same thing happened to Palestinian poet Dareen Tatour. She wrote poetry celebrating Palestinian struggle, encouraging Palestinians to resist, not to give up, to fight back. She was put under house arrest. She was put into prison for years. And therefore, I end here with a very significant point. Don't forget that Palestine was first and foremost occupied in Zionist.
This is one of the things that really, you know, that Alex Avia video that we watched on Taylor Swift, and how I stopped like watching it literally 20 minutes in because of how bad the analysis was and how cynical it was in every single way, like speaking about art initially and then talking about how Taylor Swift was literally an industry plant designed by her parents, because they literally they literally said, like, because Taylor Swift's parents gave her a gender neutral name because they wanted her to be like successful in like business and not be judged for being like a woman. They said that was like a bad thing. Like, and it showed like how her parents were like fucking insanely like capitalist minded. And I just got like so fucking insanely pissed off with the video that I stopped watching it. And I sort of do want to watch it. Yeah, like a neoliberal agenda to like give your child a gender neutral name so that they like don't get discriminated against when they hand in resumes, and saying that this is like how Taylor's entire success is defined and designed around like it really like pissed me off. And the analysis on art also pissed me off because so much famous art is resistance art. So much art that like we see value in today and that will sell for like ridiculous sums that I don't agree with is art to do with resistance. Is art depicting the terrors of war. And it just fucking like, well done, Rick. It really like that whole analysis really rubbed me the wrong way. Because as much as people claim that so much of art today is for rich people to like to like avoid paying taxes and it's a tax write-off and shit like that, as much as there's so much dirty business in the art world, and there's a lot of artists that, you know, many people wouldn't think deserve what they have, like what people like that, like defining art itself and the entire medium and purpose behind it. Art has no physical value. Yes, it does. That's also untrue. I guess unless you're doing architecture, no, that's completely untrue, T-Pam. That's a very reductionist view. Like, yes, physical value in terms of like survival, but human beings, we've made it past the point of just surviving at this point. But it just really frustrated me because it was like art. It's very difficult to like a large portion of art that is like very okay, I don't really know how to explain it. I think the confusion comes from the concept of art as a commodity, which is a thing, but art should have transcendental value. You know how I look at OK Buddy Hassan as like a community diary for like Hasanabi heads? Like art through centuries, even if it was designed for like rich people, you know, reveals far more than that. No, I don't agree with like how art is priced. But I do agree that it's very important, and you can't just look at like art in a cynical way, like entirely. And I don't like the pompous view that people have of like art is supposed to make you feel things and blah 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 and all that sort of like bullshit. Like sometimes things are a lot more simple than that. Just like have a look at like the Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. You know, it's an insane triptych, and like there's so much comedy in it behind it. Like, and I don't even know why I'm really bringing this up as an example, but there's so much to see, and there's so much that like that particular like piece of art inspired, you know, those comics where there's so much going on all over the place. I just feel like it's so reductionist to be cynical about like human creation in that sort of way, especially just because of how powerful art has been in resistance. And also, it really pisses me off, like, especially from like a leftist perspective, because like in general, art has always been hella lefty. Like, yeah, maybe not if you go back to like fucking Renaissance era bullshit, but like, especially in contemporary society, art, like, conservatives don't make art. They don't know how. There's like very few good conservative artists. Yeah, like exactly. That's what I was thinking of. Cheaper than art school.
To humanize Palestinians. So stop LARPing is my point.
SAP
okay
is going to start soon. Get in, everyone.
It doesn't mean that like spend any amount of time criticizing Palestinians in general, because that is also not only counterproductive, but I would say cowardly, right? Understand and explain, analyze these actions and why these actions are taken. The
Nazis paid a lot of artists to do propaganda, though, but the Nazis also inadvertently like displayed impressionist art as like degenerate art. Did you know that like the Nazis had like degenerate art museums full of art that they called degenerate, full of modern art at the time?
What do you mean? I sound so full of shit. Yeah, of course. You're on Twitch, brother. You're not a fucking revolutionary Marxist-Leninist.
South Africa during apartheid, some of Bob Marley's music was banned because it was the sound of revolution. Yes.
Come across like I'm fucking full of shit because I'm not.
Also,
LARPing.
like a lot of like apartheid, like Black South African artists, like their art is so well known. It's like you can go and look at it, but also.
Anyway.
I love Impressionism, but the Nazis hated it.
The second great victory of the Palestinians. What do you mean LARPing? Is just saying from the river to the sea? No. I said do not concede to cynical conflations between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism.
Anyway.
When people say from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free is anti-Semitic or calling for the genocide of Jews, that's fucking bullshit. Obviously, that's not what I mean.
No, they put it on display to make sure people didn't do that.
About, like, yeah, dude,
it was pretty insane. Like, can you imagine? Like, they had entire exhibitions for degenerate art.
People go above and beyond and say, like, no.
And that, to me, is very confusing because it's like you're making a museum for people to go look at really stuff that they shouldn't do.
Civilians should be killed because they are all settled.
It's almost a little bit of a Streisand effect.
And shit like that.
You know, all the way back then.
When someone comes in here and says, like, well, you know, they'll just fucking leave. They'll just leave. They have to leave.
Yeah, better for them to display it than burn it.
Shit like that.
I mean, the Nazis burned a lot of things. I don't know why that they did that.
Shit like that is unproductive, silly, stupid.
Also, that is another thing. Like
yeah, it's like
if you guys are confused at all, it's like what I'm talking about. My favorite video by Jacob Geller is called "Who's Afraid of Modern Art," and it's about the relationship fascists have with art and how art is inherently always been a symbol of like breaking out of the current culture and breaking of traditions, and how fascists have tried to quash modern art and tried to like paint modern art as something that is inherently degenerate. Because the thing is, even though some people like it's so difficult for me to explain, because I understand, like I just want to think about like what he said.
Like no, she
but
genuinely is
modern
terrified
art, like
because people have made
what
it
really
believe that.
like red, blue, and yellow. You know, that very famous very basic art that really triggered a whole bunch of people. Even like liberals really didn't like it because it was so simple. I mean, the pigments and what went into it, you know, people aren't really gonna know about, but like people really got upset that they were displaying this art that was just lines of red, blue, and yellow. Like they tried to reproduce that painting and they couldn't. Exactly. Like, and people will say like, yeah, and he talks a lot about Rothko. Paintings are interesting. I've never seen anything from South Africa. Hold on.
And we're gonna move on.
Hold on.
We need to stop using.
If you want like a classic, one of my favorite South African artists, he was a white guy, so I don't know like what his leaning was, but his art is just fucking so incredible. Is Pierneef, but that's not who I was wanting to refer to. Hold, Pierneef. He made like landscapes of South Africa, but like with like geometry. Hold on, I'll show you. Pierneef. This is just. I'll just show you quickly. Hold on. Very much inspired, late. Like this, you could think of this as like South African artists' impressionist age. Okay, now I'm not going to say there's anything like really good about these people that made it. Okay, but holy fuck! Like, look at this. Do you see like the influence from like he's trying like it's almost insane to sort of describe. Like you can see that the influence from like Japanese print work, but that is not a direct influence. It's an influence through impressionists in Europe who are inspired by Japanese print work. Anyway, this is not one of like the artists I was trying to describe, but Pierneef's work is always just like so insane. Like taking like nature, very complicated nature, and like reducing it to like these very clear cut, so good. Anyway, he's probably one of the like these artworks will go for so much, like a ridiculous amount. Let me just find I can't remember the name. There was a painting called No Work. Yeah, Milwala Pemba. Yes. This is apartheid art. No Work. And it's representative of like it's such a simple watercolor. Representative of like the pain of like trying to find a job and living in like absolute insane poverty in apartheid South Africa. The light and the contrast that it creates, like highlighting like this expression that's hidden. This is also Pemba. More Pemba. There's also Kenneth Baker, who did a lot of work about like art on the Boer Cop. We'll actually find him on. You don't often see watercolors as well. Look, he's got such a tiny Wikipedia article. From Port Elizabeth. I want to see his work, though. I want to show you. No, like good site with all the images. Okay, wikiart.org. Okay, let's see. Yeah, done. Like this is a very famous one, the police raid, 1981. Now they talked about, when I learned about this at school, they talked about how, what you need to notice is how less expressive and how devoid of expression the black police officers' faces are, because they're painted to be like in other paintings, he makes their faces like even bluer. Okay, you can see like the grayness in the face, and it's a nod to just like being like robotic and sort of like traitors from you know, like going against their own people. They're painted to be dehumanized. And there's always like this idea, there's this level of like stillness in his work and lack of focus on like correct proportions to try and create like this very uncertain dynamic. And it almost looks like you could like a bare-chested woman. It's fine, it's art. It's okay. But Pemba was one, and then there's a lot more other resistance art, but this is resistance art. This is a depiction of like a black family getting raided by other black policemen under apartheid. He's just sitting there with his dope and cigarette. Like, there's nothing sort of wrong with this, you know? But there's something so like almost in just the way the policemen hold themselves. Anyways, it's just so like Pemba is very famous. Here's another one at the clinic. And there's something like so like, yeah. Like, I don't really know really much how to describe it. Yeah. They hold themselves in a westernized way. You have Western uniforms. Yeah. No. In Pemba's work, like he policemen feature in quite a few things, and there is we literally learn about, we see like the dehumanization. I will never ever like allow someone to say that this stuff is not like important. And you can find like, you might not think that this would sell for a lot, but these paintings go for millions and millions and millions of rands. And it's because of the historical context that gives it to them. Like, I will reject anyone's opinion that says like this, like that this art was designed to make millions. It certainly wasn't. Art was supposed to represent feelings, supposed to signify struggle. capture and he also worked in watercolor, which I haven't seen like a lot of. This one's called Homeless. This one's called Homeless. Yeah, I will. I just looked up Penber and it came up WikiArt. Like, this is devastating what's happening here. Like, what it's likely some sort of, it might be a land reclamation. We don't know how they lost their home. It could have been a fire. And everyone's in different states of emotion. Someone's really taking it. You can see the mother is like holding strong, making sure the baby's okay. Like, we don't really know the relation between the characters, but we can see that they're a family, that they live together. And they're not wearing shoes, which sort of signifies that they've lost everything. They're not wearing their shoes. Where are all their other things? Where are they to go? And the background seems in such contrast from like the absolute like devastation in the faces of what the situation is. It's beautiful. The sky is sun is shining. There are no clouds. But the difference is, as you can see, the scenery is all so much more vague than the individuals. It's almost like there's sort of a separation, like there's a blur filter. And the thing is, like, people will say the artist didn't think of that. But that's because art is feeling. We notice these things afterwards. Anyway, let's go to SAP. I will go through South African art. Yeah, exactly. And this is just such a, like, you know, maybe they're in like Cape Town. Maybe their homes got destroyed, like, by bulldozers, bulldozing down District 6, okay? District 6 was, like, one of the most, like, it's absolutely devastating what the South African government did to District 6, because it was, and there's a very similar story about a town like that in America. It was such a vibrant and close-knit and insanely beautiful community, and they just destroyed it. And nothing is there now. Nothing was built over it. They just annihilated all of it. It's just a field now. Because they wanted the claim to say, they decided that land now was for only white people to live on, and they completely destroyed everything. We'll talk more about South African art another time. Right, get in for SAP, everyone. Oh god, they're all talking about me.
Position from earlier. I know that this is a fringe position, this idea of we need to expel all the Jews
going on
from
in
Israel,
Hassan's chat?
because I have never seen any pro-Palestinian content creator on this app advocate for this.
Yeah, that's the other part about it. That's like, he's right. Like, this is not a position that, bro, you're lapping Hamas, dog.
We'll wait for you.
Okay.
Doofing Todd. Doofington Dodd. I always see it Doofing Todd.
You are a fucking LARPer Why is he covering it? Because he's making fun of a fucking commenter who did say that. Okay? Like, you're literally talking about like Hamas's 1988 charter for no fucking reason, when even Hamas in 2017 was like, yeah, maybe that's like so much. Maybe that's a bit much. Maybe we should dial it back a little bit, because absolutely zero people want to recognize this as a legitimate political entity because of the original charter, which is not like the fucking lay of the land. You know, it could change. Charters change. The point is not retribution. The point is not vengeance. The point is justice, okay?
Do you think
justice
tot is acceptable?
For all. This is a fundamental principle that I believe in. Okay? Hamas apologia. What? Chanting intifada at pro-peace rallies isn't a good look, though, but I agree for the most part. Hamas apologia. No, I don't agree with you on this, hollaback boy. I think chanting intifada is not a bad thing. Intifada is struggle. It can take up violent forms, as it has in the second intifada. But the first intifada was strikes. Like, that is 100% an adequate thing to say in this circumstance. It's just like, I think an uprising against the apartheid state is just.
What, a South African accent?
There's literally a video of Hamas founder Ahmed Yassin saying
Thank
we
you for
can
helping us
coexist
grow,
with
of
Jews,
course.
Lamau. I know, I don't really give a shit about that stuff anyway. It's just all fucking back and forth optics.
It is something that leftists do. I mean, look, I am a leftist. I understand, like, the relationships that, like, rich people have to art. Okay. By the way, I just want to say, my education was literally, like, governmental education. I didn't go to a private school.
So
Difference is, and this is the issue with South African education, is like I was taught in the language that I understand.
What is life like on Bitch Island? I don't know.
Baby
Ask your
Grok
mom.
300, thank you so much for
a
3,000. Thank you
stable
so much
state
for follow.
which can exist and develop evenly,
South African education can be very good if you were
democratic
taught.
state
No,
that
I
is
didn't go to
diverse,
fuck. Always says
so
every
that
single. I know
they
you.
can develop evenly and benefit the entire population of Israel and Palestine.
But
then
like
people can't
all of
complain.
that knowledge on art,
And
I
then they
learnt
can
at
protest
school.
about culture war nonsense like we do in the Western world. That's the goal.
Like about like motifs, the value of sort of art, and like the fact that I know quite a lot about South African art. I used to feel uncomfortable
think that
with white
people coming after
African.
Intifada,
My mind
for
couldn't think about
example, and
colonialism.
saying, like,
Thank you
oh,
for
you
sure.
can't say
It
that,
was so wrong to think
you're
that. You
calling
for thank you.
the genocide of Jews.
Good. Like I mean, like
Is
I can't help where I was born.
because, like, okay, the
I mean, if you
Warsaw
feel
Ghetto Intifada
uncomfortable
wasn't the
around
Warsaw Ghetto
white,
genocide
like
of the
African,
Jews, you know?
then you should feel uncomfortable with every single American you interact
That's how
with.
you say it in Arabic. It's an uprising. Are you pro two-state now? I'm confused. No, I'm a one-stater. I'm a one-stater specifically because I think it's untenable to believe
Thanks,
that there will
Benji.
ever be a two-state solution that is just and moral, because a two-state solution implies that you have to expel 750,000 Jews living in the fucking West Bank and in East Jerusalem. I used to be someone who believed in a two-state solution.
Now here's something I'll say about modern art. At the Zeitz Mocha, there is still like apartheid resistance art. Okay? Like this is considered modern art. But like someone once made a chair out of broken bottles because broken bottles were used so much as weapons by South Africans who were resisting apartheid. There was an installation of bricks hanging from red rope, and like the way you interact with the art piece is by moving around these red bricks. Now people will say this is pretentious as fuck, okay, but like all of these objects were used for resistance, and it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable to like be very close to them.
The thing is, it is not just one random comment. Here's a tweet saying the same thing, that in response to the question, where will the Israelis
there's a lot of shit like this that pops off on Twitter, and it's just like
Like it also like the deeper thing behind it is people learn that these were the tools used, like, to resist apartheid. That people worked with so little. It wasn't guns. It was broken bottles and fucking bricks. Even that being a modern installation, that some people would just say like, "Fuck off." It's like super pretentious. Even that is educational. Like, this should make you uncomfortable because violence is bad, and look at how violent we're impressing. But the thing is, like, Kaz, it's you will be uncomfortable to look at like a chair that's made out of like glass, right? Like it's not gonna be an image that evokes like comfort. But yeah, that is also the contrast as well. That is like you are exactly getting the point. It's pointing at a deeper violence.
Fuck you mean? That's literally the point of reparations, is so that people do get their justice. Reparations is justice. It's like saying
No, it's not made in a pro-apartheid sense. It's made in an anti-apartheid sense. Bro, do you honestly think a modern South African art museum would ever show pro-apartheid art? Bro, it's illegal to fly the old like South African flag. No, not at all. No. This art is supposed to like celebrate that these objects were used to overthrow apartheid. It's supposed to
this
show
is a very
like
Turkish take from you,
power.
but it's also just true. It's just so dumb.
Okay, are we gonna start? Is everyone in?
Actually, let's try the bullet idea.
It sees me. Okay, everyone's in. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Come fucking kill
Anyone
me
else?
then. I don't know. In honor of the indigenous population that used to live here. Like, what do you mean, dumbass? It's a LARP. It's all a LARP. It's a fucking LARP. It's just so stupid. Which is why I don't spend a lot of time, like, covering it. Genuine question, how long a time must pass for it to become wrong? I don't want an exact number just to understand it. But because some Irgun members are still living in the house they stole from in 1948, yeah, when I say a Truth and Reconciliation Committee, or at least, like, or at least bringing war criminals to justice, the fuck do you think happens to those guys? They go to jail. They're supposed to. Okay? What do you mean? No, like, in no world where you think that that 95-year-old piece of shit that is still like Israel's oldest reservist or whatever is like getting away, okay? That's not happening. You're being delusional now? Fuck no. I'm talking about what is just, okay? I'm talking about what is just within the framework of what could possibly happen.
Bro, Santos posts way too much on Twitter.
Didn't he get ice? No, I think he's still standing. Anyway.
Anyone goes, oh my God, Yuval, that's so sad. Your family's been there for so. This is not about me. I'm bringing this up.
Wait, that old guy died blown
He's unemployed.
up?
Give him a break.
Yeah, it's hilarious that people are saying truth and reconciliation is delusional, but expelling 7 million people is realistic. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Thank you, Chatter, for bringing this up. Yeah, let's do the more realistic alternative, which is expelling every Jewish person living in Israel. Like, I already said it. Like, the reason why I don't believe that there can be a fucking two-state solution is because there is a one state already. It's a one state. It's one state. Okay, right now it's one state. 7 million Jews living in Israel proper get all of the fucking benefits and amenities of living in a democracy. Okay, with obviously some issues, even within that democratic structure, like the consistent erosion of civil liberties even for the secular Jews, right? The 2 million Palestinian citizens of Israel have less rights than them, but still live in a basically codified Jim Crow style situation that is infinitely better than the 2.3 million Palestinians living under Israeli occupation of the West Bank, where they have to constantly fucking live under a permit regime, a tyrannical structure where the Israeli occupying force comes to their fucking houses on a nightly basis just for the fuck of it, okay? Where they can go to jail for anything, for even being suspected of being around someone who Israel has declared a terrorist. And then we arrive at the Gaza Strip. Another 2.3 million in the Gaza Strip living under the Israeli occupation. At least they have their own kind of government, I guess, but their own kind of government is also not exactly great either. And no supply goes into the Gaza Strip without Israel's go-ahead. Israel considers the Gaza Strip to be an open-air prison themselves, an open-air prison that they engage in military actions in the form of sieges that they call mowing the lawn. That's the one state right now that currently exists. I look at that situation realistically and I say, hey, don't do those things. Make this a one state that is pluralistic and has a democracy for all the people living under this occupation. Abolish the checkpoints. Break down the fucking walls. Allow Palestinians to coexist peacefully. Give them the democratic representation that they deserve. Offer them a life of dignity. There will be no need for resistance at that point. And then beyond that, when that happens, and people still are like, well, you know what? I'm going to do an act of terror here because I kind of don't like the situation. You know what happens in that situation? Then you're a criminal. You're a criminal that is being tried in a criminal justice system. Okay? That's the difference. At that point, you're just a criminal. You're a bad guy at that point. Okay? That's how this works. What about a right to return for Palestinian refugees? Of course, my man. Of course. Ridiculous. Not even a thing. Like, that's not even a question. Of course. A right to return for Palestinians. Anyway.
Because what is going to happen is Zionists are going to take tweets and comments like those. They will print them out, put them on poster boards, and use them to show the world, see, Palestinians do hate Jews. They are anti-Semitic. They do want to expel all the Jews out of Israel. And it will fucking work. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to convince people that from the river to the sea does not mean expelling all the Jews out of Israel when there are literally people saying, I want to expel all the Jews out of Israel? So if you are saying these things, not only are you advocating for a position...
No. We should cave to this nonsense? What do you mean he agrees that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is not expelling all Jews from Israel? He's just simply stating that a one-state solution does not mean expelling all Jews from Israel, because it isn't. Not only is it not realistic, but it's also immoral, and that's precisely the reason why you should never fucking advocate for dumbass shit like that, and you should tell people what from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free means. It's just so weird. Who the fuck is saying that? Mostly the people that say that are the Zionists who lie about it.
Here's another piece of contemporary South African art. An artist who, Zapiro, very well, I think it was Zapiro, very well known South African cartoonist. Jewish guy. I'm pretty sure it was Zapiro. He painted, now, this was when Jacob Zuma was in power in South Africa. He's literally like one of the worst presidents we've ever had post. He really was fucking terrible. Like, anyway, he painted an image, like a big, massive portrait, life-size portrait of Jacob Zuma, but in like a very you could say socialist style, Soviet style like painting, because of the fact that like they, you know, the government, it's very common to call yourselves comrades and things like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it was ironic. It's the juxtaposition of the austerity he was engaging in and yeah, anyway, fuck Jacob Zuma. He was like the worst president we've had, but painted it but his penis was out. So it was like his fly was down and his penis was out. So it was like his penis was like showing in the painting, like completely out. Sort of just like it was, yeah. And you know what the South African government did? They literally came in and censored it with paint. And now it made so much more of a huff and a puff. I'm being serious, they did. Yeah. I need to find it so I can show you guys. No, well, you can't. Like, I'll show you the censored version. They censored it, yeah. No, literal government censorship. And that in itself, like, the actual, censorship revealed exactly, like, what the like, Zuma government was about. It was almost, like, perfectly painted to get that kind of response from the South African government at the time. And this was post-apartheid, by the way. And they literally, yeah. Isn't Sapira a lib guy? Probably. I mean, like,
Clear Holocaust.
the point is, like, regardless of like get bad vibes from some of his cartoons, it's probably because like his cartoons are not at all racist, as if that's what you're thinking of. Okay. They are caricatures, but they're not at all racist. Not at all. Like, celebrated as one of the best, like, cartoonists. And there's it's just the way in which politicians are, like, especially bad politicians, are always like cartoonized. You know what I mean? No, racist is very lipped up, I'm sure. Like, but yeah, I don't really know his takes on Ukraine and shit like that. You know what I mean? Hmm. Almost too good not to take.
Sorry, as a Palestinian, only the USA can fix this. Let's be real for 2
Yeah.
minutes now. That's so funny that you just mentioned that. And like, I think you're overemphasizing the impact that the ADL and APAC has on the broader population. Unless they are able to genuinely change the fucking way that things are happening right now.
No, we'll play more Fennel.
And are able to enforce their will, which they haven't been able to on TikTok at the very least. Like, you know, you just have to keep up the pressure. There's nothing else you can do against the American government, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
No, white South Africans, like, a lot of us, Kaz, like, I want you know what's really funny? Is my parents recently bought a couch and they had to get it dyed. You know why? Because my father said it was apartheid brown. It was an apartheid brown color. That like this was the color that was used in so many of the military uniforms, and it was just all over the place, like, all the time. And he said it just like was just such a like reminder of like how like terrible things were, because my father like always grew up throughout apartheid. Now he's white, right? But he literally wanted to dye the couch to not have a reminder of that specific color because it reminded him of apartheid. It's very interesting to me. I am not doing well in this weekly at all. Guess we're gonna do this instead. And I just think that to me is just very interesting.
And they engage in an act of settler colonialism.
No, they were living in a police state. Bro, like, I mean, this is a very specific example.
Why didn't the
But
Arabs embrace them?
large-
Some did. Some did. Some did, literally, from the beginning.
You knew exactly.
The
Red
point
you know
was
exactly.
that many Arabs did, and some of them were fucking punished for it severely, dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Painting was censored. You guys want to see it?
Rashid Khalidi talks about this in 100 Years of Palestine.
No, I saw your message.
There were plenty of Arabs. Arabs taught a lot of the new Jewish settlers that came in under British occupation how to deal with like the agriculture in the region.
No, I know, non-binary.
There was collaboration.
Bro, they literally don't even like talk about fucking slavery, like the slavery that the British engaged in the British education system. Like, I remember like having I had a friend in the UK whose father was Nigerian, and they were complaining to the school that they were not teaching anything about like the history of slavery and how the British engaged in slavery. I remember it. Okay, fuck. I really need to get something else going on here. This is not working for me right now. Okay.
Yeah, as far as methods goes, demonstrations, boycott strikes, ingenious forms of organization to reject the structures of occupation.
Didn't mean to do that. There we go.
That's the first intifada. That's the only reason that Israel shifted its policy and agreed to negotiate with the PLO in the 1990s, because it realized, because of the first intifada, that it could not maintain the occupation in the form that it once had.
Ridvan.
Now, it is very hard to resist nonviolently against a colonial power that is willing to kill unlimited numbers of people who try to do that. Israel killed hundreds of Gazans in the so-called March of Return in 2021, shot them down. Snipers killed them. Marching along the frontier between the Gaza Strip and Israel, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people were maimed by snipers who shot out their knees. That's what happens when you nonviolently protest. That's what happened at the beginning of the second intifada. The second intifada, after Sharon went to the Haram al-Sharif around the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the fall of 2000, was mainly massive nonviolent demonstrations to which the Israeli army responded with millions of bullets, eventually producing the effect of people firing back. So much so that in the second intifada, like even the fucking Palestinian Authority's own police force shot back at the Israeli occupying force. And it's something that they had never done prior. Like literally, CIA trained Palestinians using American weapons were now firing back.
I've just
at
been
the Israeli
terrible.
occupying force. Something that was very frustrating.
What is the meta for this weekly? I don't understand.
Why did that happen? Well, that happened because they were firing at them.
I guess. Okay, I see. Yeah, I guess you can't get a tank. So fucking summons are great.
And eventually, suicide bombs against Israeli civilians inside of Israel. By the way, launched not just by Hamas, but also Fatah.
Okay. Let me show you guys this. Hold on, let me get the links up. Love the link. You guys can't see anything, so just wait. I can't remember. Was it Zapiro who painted a red one? So here was the art chat. Artwork I was talking. Censored. So this was Jacob Zuma. And it was like a Soviet, based off of like Soviet style. It was Brett Murray. Okay, I've done that's wrong. I was one. And the government came in and did this. Based off of this. Post of Lenin. And it's funny. O.R. Tambo's daughter tells Zuma, get over it. The daughter of the late NC's veteran, Oliver Tambo, showed little sympathy for President Jacob Zuma's complaint about the portrait of him exposing his genitals. The Star reported today that Selane, it's like I can't fucking. I'm so sorry, South Africans. Play. Like getting it wrong. Okay, never mind. But it's like I'll just say Tselane. Like I know it's not the click, but it's like there's still like something I'm not getting it. Okay, Tambo posted the following message on social network site. So the Pres Jay-Z has his portrait painted and he doesn't like it. Do the poor enjoy poverty? Do the unemployed enjoy hopelessness? Do those who can't get housing enjoy homelessness? He must get over it. No one is having a good time. He should inspire the reverence he craves. This portrait is what he inspired. Shame, ne. Shame, ne. Yeah. It was called The Spear. The Spear. The ANC was set to argue in court tomorrow that the painting should be removed because it violated Zuma's right to dignity and made a mockery of his office. Shame, ne? Anyway. Thank you so much for that, Ridvan.
Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Here is the 3-minute ad break now at the top of the motherfucking hour.
And that's modern art, chat. That's art that came out.
Really poor execution is better than this.
You can post it, Ridvan. It's fine.
We have no doubt
it's
about
art.
that. And
I mean, I won't show it, but it's fine.
Today's meeting with
but yeah,
Biden,
you don't have to if you're worried that you're going to get banned. So don't stress.
That, and that they are
you don't have to stress. Yeah, like it's fine. But the thing is, it's like, it's that is modern art. That's art that came out like this decade, and it's openly showing resistance to a very austere president who enriched himself in office, even though he was a part of the resistance under apartheid and well known in the ANC at the time. I remember learning about what Jacob Zuma did in the ANC at school, like during that time. How is Ramaphosa viewed in South Africa right now? Probably like one of the most, in quotations, presidential presidents. Look, like South Africa's not in a good state right now. People are suffering. Okay, water scarcity is terrible. Electricity generation is terrible. I'm sure, like, I don't think people particularly like him. But he is very charismatic, so I'm not sure. But I also think a lot of South Africans are very disillusioned by politics. I think a lot of South Africans can't afford to be political, more so than Americans. Like, far more so than Americans.
They will target any ships headed toward Israel.
You like Trump in a charismatic way?
Food and medicine, increasing fears of a wider war. George?
Okay, Martha, thanks. Let's bring in the top White House now security spokesman, John Kirby. John, a lot to cover this morning. Let's start with those missile strikes from the Houthis. They don't seem to be getting the message. These strikes continue. Does more need to be done?
Well, we're obviously going to watch this very, very closely, George. We're going to do what we have to do to protect commercial shipping and, of course, protect our Navy ships in the Red Sea and in the region. We are building up and fleshing out.
But he's not going to fucking ban Muslims from the country and be reactionary against
telegraph our punches one way or the other, but we're going to do what we have to do to protect ourselves and to protect our national security interests, including freedom of navigation for commercial vessels there in the Red Sea.
President Biden seemed to have his most significant break with the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, yesterday, talking about that indiscriminate bombing in Gaza.
Houthis are wild, baby. They're wild. Iran back? I say prove it. Because according to the group, Americans have declared as Houthis for some reason. They say they are not Iran back, nor would that change what they're doing. I'm so sick of evil propaganda. First of all, dog.
The spawns. I see.
These are people that were being genocided. Like, literally a couple months ago. Are you kidding me? No, they are. Like, why do people say that? I don't know why people go, oh, dude, they're not Iran back. Like, shut up, prove it. It's like, they are. That doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? Like, Look at that clean stamp work. Oh my god. My fucking blade, baby. Dude, I'm so stoked for this. It looks good. It looks like it's not broken. Just needs a little bit of grinding, right? Yeah, they made these advanced ballistic missiles and drones all by themselves after years of a genocide.
He didn't do agitation, which is high-key a blessing. The corruption is bad, but it could have been worse, yeah.
They're as Iran-backed as Israel is Saudi-backed? No.
Ridwan, what I look at is I look at how the Rand tanked as when he became president. Like, there's a lot of shit that, like, he did that we were too young to understand. I certainly.
I don't know why
the non-corrupt politicians in South Africa, though. Yes. Certainly, like Kaz, we wouldn't have like fucking
where is this going
like
from here? Will the United States
like free insulin or free HIV medications? They weren't like actually good people working in our government. There's no like it's just if everyone was so entirely money focused, then why haven't they sold us out to the fucking pharma companies? There have to be good people working in our government. I can't like see it in any other way.
We want to make sure that they continue to get just as precise and targeted as possible to minimize those civilian casualties.
There also seems to be a big difference over the day after in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu seems to be ruling out having the Palestinian Authority step in and try to take control. The United States is urging that.
We believe that whatever the future of Gaza looks like, it's got.
Bro, Gazans don't want that shit. Like, nobody wants that. Palestinian Authority sucks. Propaganda is real. No pushback at this point. I mean, yeah. First of all, you don't get to George Stephanopoulos' point. Like, you don't get to his career if you actually do pushback against guys like Kirby. That's not how you get there.
Got to be representative of the aspirations of the Palestinian people, and right now the Palestinian Authority has that mandate. Now the Palestinian Authority also has a credibility problem with a lot of Palestinians, and we want them to be reformed and revitalized.
I wonder why. Why do they have a credibility problem with the Palestinian people?
And better able to meet those aspirations. That's what we believe. We do not believe in a reoccupation by the IDF of Gaza for a long term, and we don't believe that there should be any reduction in the size of Gaza. We've been making that case very, very clear to our Israeli counterparts. Jake Sullivan, our national security advisor, is on his way to the region right now. He'll be talking about the day after with his Israeli counterparts as well.
On Ukraine, Congress going home without passing more aid. What does that mean?
I love, yeah. Dude, show any Palestinian this video in the West Bank of, John Kirby saying, we are going to reform the Palestinian Authority. I'm sure when they hear John fucking Kirby saying that, they'll go, oh, yeah, that wasn't the major problem from the jump. That actually wasn't what our anger was. I have decided, America, surely this time the reform will be valid. Also, it's this guy too. John Kirby, spokesman for the National Security Council, wearing a dog tag calling for the release of the kidnapped, bring them home now. I think that's literally a IDF dog tag.
I would go as far as to say, like, that much as the South African government fucking sucks, like, I would go as far as to say, like, that, like, Cyril Ramaphosa is a good person. And I will not often say that about any politician. Just purely on the fact that he's pro-Palestine and openly so. In a country where America could squash us like fucking beans and the world wouldn't give a fuck. Like, realistically. No, I'm being serious, Jason. Do you have any idea, like, the backlash that could cause for just South Africa coming out with such a pro-Palestinian statement? Do you have any idea what like how much funding the United States South Africa?
Oh. All right. Quick update. House to vote on whether to continue impeachment inquiry into President Biden, which is my favorite type of inquiry.
I know.
Because it's like,
but Jason,
they don't
it's
have
not like yeah, I know. Like, I know. I don't like fucking defending him, but like, I have to admit, the South African government has been a united front in saying that like happening in Palestine is a genocide. It is apartheid, and it needs to end. Yeah. Right. Good night, behaving. Very easily. I don't know. I hope that. I don't know that it's still copian on my side, but like I just can't like see. You know, like obviously he's still like the fucking president of South Africa. But it would be so much easier for him to just cave. You know? I don't know.
It's passed, by the way, for the record, just saying.
Already investigating Biden.
Are we waiting for anybody to join SAP?
Determine whether sufficient grounds exist to impeach. Many Republicans hope that making the investigation more official will help them enforce subpoenas. The House Oversight Committee, which is leading the impeachment probe, has subpoenaed Hunter Biden and asked him to testify behind closed doors this morning. But his attorney says he won't appear unless it's public. A committee spokesperson says if he doesn't show, the panel will initiate contempt
After this
of
game, I'm
Congress
going back to
proceedings.
editing.
Former President Trump has pushed for impeachment
back to
proceedings
sourcing
against
everything,
President Biden. Politically speaking, this vote will put House Republicans on record as
this
we
is
get
the last
closer to
game.
2024.
Last game.
All of these members will
Am
be
I
up
waiting for anyone?
re-election. Adriana?
It's awesome.
Good morning.
Hunter Biden slams GOP ahead of House deposition deadline. Is pretty funny. So House formally approved the Biden impeachment inquiry. Lawmakers voted 221 to 212 along party lines to approve the resolution authorizing the inquiry. Earlier in the day, Hunter Biden, the president's son, who's at the center of many of the lines of inquiry, defied a GOP subpoena to appear for a deposition on Wednesday morning. Now, of course, the reason why he defied the subpoena wasn't because he was like, oh, no, you can't fucking actually do this inquiry. The reason why he defied it was because he doesn't want to do it behind closed doors. He said he would be willing to show up if this was like an actual public inquiry. I wonder why he doesn't want to do it behind closed doors. Perhaps it's because all of the inquiries that the Republicans have done behind closed doors have led to just misinformation. The reason why they do it behind closed doors and not like a televised trial or a televised inquiry is so that they can just like lie about the stuff that they found, or rather didn't really find at all. If they had actual evidence, you think the Republicans wouldn't want to fucking do a televised trial? Are you joking? Of course, the party that does not have the evidence wants this to be done behind closed doors because they want to make sure that they could just like massage the narrative and go to Fox News and tell them like, this is what we found. Republicans have said they moved to formalize the inquiry in part because the White House responded to the document request last month with a letter that argued their inquiry was unconstitutional due to a lack of a vote, citing a Trump-era legal opinion. But investigators are struggling to back the most salacious allegation, which was first published by former President Trump ahead of his own impeachment, that as Vice President Joe Biden took actions in Ukraine with the intention of benefiting his son's business. Yeah.
I'm here today to answer at a public hearing Any legitimate questions, Chairman Comer and the House?
What's your opinion on the GOP trying to make Biden look corrupt? Takes away from him being really old. Isn't Biden kind of on a bed of nails with all the bad points on his age? Yeah. I said this early on. I said that when you try to make Brandon simultaneously be like a person at the throes of Alzheimer's who's like demented and his brain is leaking out of his ear, but simultaneously this like big scary villain who's able to concoct these operations, these incredibly corrupt operations, like dealing with our foreign adversaries and stuff like that. You basically are creating a narrative that goes against it. The Alzheimer's, we're talking about Trump now. Oh my God, Fango, don't do this. When you look at Donald Trump and his performance on camera, and you look at Joe Biden and his performance on camera, one is closer to dying than the other. And let me tell you, it's not Donald Trump. Come on. I know you guys get libbed up on this shit every time, but there is a very clear difference between the two. Trump is also profoundly old. He's older than Biden was when he ran the first time. Well, not ran the first time, when he became the president. Okay, love how Chad thinks that opposing a fascist somehow libbed. No, the libbed up part is not you opposing a fascist. The libbed up part of it is you going, no, it's actually Donald Trump that really looks like his mental faculties are out of order. Because when you say that, you sound delusional.
But my RNG is so bad.
You put fucking both side by side. Donald Trump, unironically, comes across as sound. He comes across as stupid, but he comes across as someone whose mental faculties are in order. We've had this conversation before on this broadcast where Fango has disagreed with me, but the reality is you are never going to be able to get the American population to believe you if your goal is to say Trump is more senile than Biden. It is a denial of the reality that people can see. Yeah, and he can barely put a sentence together. It's a weird narrative. Fuck no, that's not true, man. He fucking campaigns like crazy. What are you talking about? That's not true. That is not true. Trump is not all there either.
Yeah, it's Jova.
There is no comparison between Trump and Biden. That is just simply untrue.
Bro, how am I getting owned so hard?
You're mistaking one party being fucking
LB, I tagged Jason in my Oreos suck tweet. Oh, okay.
Actually demented. Trump is insane. Okay? His style is crazy. His
nearest friend behind.
His smoke too good.
Bro, I just don't understand how this game. I literally just. I'm such an idiot. Okay. I was seeing. Is it the nearest friend ahead? Oh. It's my fault. I'm the problem.
They'll kill him. Trump, watch out. To me, I feel like making this comparison to try to think that it'll favor Biden is like thinking, whose ass is fatter? Clearly Joe Biden. Trump's ass is not that fat. It's like, no, that you're delusional.
House Oversight Committee may have for me.
The House formally approved inquiry into Biden's impeachment. Fucking, bro, impeach him, dude. Fuck it. At this point, like, dude, just impeach God, please. Like, I just need content. Like, there's nothing more that Americans can do in politics that, like, will be able to just be more of a parody. Yeah, just, bro, like, yeah, like, just, like, fucking post his cock, you know? Like, no one cares. Bro, Trump's been impeached so many times that, like, people just don't give a fuck. Like, Hassan's viewership doesn't go up when Trump gets impeached anymore. That's saying something. Yeah, we already got Zuma's penis. Fuck it. Exactly.
A father, a brother,
and a Holy Ghost,
and a husband from a loving and supportive family. I'm proud to have earned degrees from Georgetown University. And
I don't give a fuck about any of this shit, dude. Whatever. Crazy how much he sounds like Joe when he was young. Yeah, he also has Joe's hair.
There you are. See you now. What do you have for us, Hillary?
Hey, Bill, well, at least Hunter Biden showed up after his lawyer said he would only show up if he was getting a televised testimony, but he did get his chance.
Damn.
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
I'm just taking fucking L's left, right, and center. I deserve it, dude.
Brandon Hunter Brandon say he'll only show if it was a televised testimony. Does that sound like something a person who at least doesn't think they have a case would say? No. Trump thinks he has a case. He wants his testimony to be televised. You know what I mean? When he thinks he has a case, that is.
Bro.
Like, it's stupid.
To be on TV, he delivered a short statement to the press, but he did not take any questions from us, but we sure did try. Biden, was it worth it trying to sell the family name?
Was Weekly's dog shit? No, I think it's subtle, mean boot.
Dude, I love
summons
this
time.
shit. Dude, this is Infowars.com shit, dude. Come on.
You guys are wrong.
I can't believe that this is like what they're...
Whenever you guys say the Weekly's dog shit, there's no meta here. There's no race. Okay?
It's like a Redditor coming into my chat.
There is a meta, but it's subtle. Summons can like...
What do you have to say to the fact that
it's summons.
only reading tweets from random people and playing it off as commentary?
Yeah, it's summons. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's summons. It's hard with scaling. It's summons.
President Biden to pardon you, sir. Was it worth it selling the family name?
Blue. Clear path, please.
Have you asked your father for a pardon?
Business dealings.
Dude, Fox News
How did you get into so much?
So wrong,
God, I
Anomalous
love
Hollis.
Fox News so much.
You can't fucking say that you can't. You can only get like a build later game when you've got a fucking like bulldog, fish, like kangaroos, cone snails, and like ducks in like the first few animals you get. You are just coping. Okay. I'm sorry.
Biden in contempt for being a no-show.
And I'm getting owned. And I think this is a good weekly.
Called the subpoena illegitimate because
she flubbed it.
There is no official impeachment inquiry, but of course, House Republicans trying to change that with an impeachment inquiry resolution, a vote on that today. If they do pass that, then that would put more weight behind their subpoenas. If they do hold Hunter Biden in contempt and he ultimately is prosecuted, he could face up to a year of jail time. So we'll see how all this shakes out. Bill?
Okay, Hillary.
Oh my God. Let's go.
You're so good.
Janie on the spot.
She is. I wanted to ask you, Hillary, can you just explain like the mood and the franticness? Like, Andy McCarthy made a good point. I mean, they're trying to get out of town. So are they going to try to do all of this, get out of town, leave for 4 weeks, I guess, and then come back and pick it up again?
Yeah, I mean, they're hoping to pass the impeachment resolution today. They are expected to leave for Christmas and the holidays and then come back and pick it up after the new year. But I think what's interesting is once they pass this impeachment resolution, they may re-subpoena Hunter Biden and ask him to comply. And now that the impeachment inquiry is official, he may be more inclined to follow it because he may be more afraid that he would actually be prosecuted if he were to ignore it like he did today. So that's definitely something to watch after the new year.
She's in the tunnels under the White House, brothers. Stay woke. Let me tell you, she's under the tunnel structure where they're trafficking the children.
So from Hunter Biden's perspective, I guess this is next year's problem.
I heard it's a Hamas tunnel. I heard it's a tunnel structure similar to Hamas.
I've held on.
Okay, Hillary, thank you for that.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian.
Yeah, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, but
996, thank you so much for the tier 1. Holy moly.
Let's listen to him.
A repetition of everything that we've seen
Rax.
over the last 11 months. But we are in a remarkable juncture
Rax,
for the U.S. House of Representatives because this is an impeachment inquiry where no one has been able to define what criminal or constitutional offense they're looking for. We don't know what the crime is. You know, the mysteries are called a whodunit, because it starts with the crime and then you try to determine who committed it. This is more like a what is it, not a who done it. We don't know what the crime is.
Okay, AOC simping for Raskin. It's not that funny, okay? It's not that funny. Like, come on. That's like a class. She's like, ha, 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 ha. She's trying to rizz him up.
And there are thousands and thousands of pages of evidence but all of the evidence demonstrates
brown
beyond any
nosing.
reasonable doubt that President Joe Biden is not guilty of any impeachable offense that we can determine. And with that, I'm going to call on my colleagues to come up, and we'll take turns between oversight and judiciary. But perhaps I can start with the vice-ranking member of the Oversight Committee, and then we'll go over to judiciary.
Thank you, Ranking Member Raskin. The ranking member laid out what's happening here quite clearly. Republicans do not have a case. And let's also remind everybody that this impeachment inquiry by the Republican Party has already begun in a public forum.
You got it.
They launched an impeachment inquiry without a House floor vote already. And their own witness, the own Republican witness, said that there are, from what he has seen, there are not grounds for an impeachment inquiry, or rather, frankly, impeachment in general of President Biden. But that has not deterred the Republican side from continuing to try to force through a completely groundless and unsubstantiated, I won't even call it an investigation, I'll just call it an exercise in futility. What we've seen from this deposition, Chairman Comer himself told Hunter Biden, you choose. Whichever you choose, come in public and come in private. Hunter Biden, in an attempt to clear his name from what has been happening publicly, has stated that he is willing to testify to the public. But because the Republican investigation has been debunked, exposed, and consistently covered and exposed as having falsehoods, they decided that they will take back and rescind their offer of a public investigation.
So this is going to go on now with a parade of Democrats at the microphone.
Damn, they're fucking cutting her off. They're like, no, she's too good.
Then we can anticipate Republicans at some point, too. What card James Comer plays next is really the next stage in the story here. Andy McCarthy joins our coverage. And Andy, good morning to you. Top line thought at the moment is what for you? Hello.
Well, I think that, this is all predictable, actually. And there seems to be some confusion. There's two different things going on. There is.
I just want to show you, if you want to understand how this is going.
I knew.
No, I will never add cum dance. Are you kidding me?
Situation is.
Yeah, Rick knows, dude.
The Republicans, like, here,
no
this
shot.
Is it, okay. Here. Because, like, this shit ain't even popular from fucking Republican standards right now, okay?
Why? It's a good email.
This is on Newsmax, brother. Here.
In your investigation, take a look. Hear MSNBC. Otherwise, the other half of America doesn't hear about any of this.
Why are you guys like posting Coke shaking?
How they're trying to portray you
when we're talking about
and then spin your investigation. Take a look.
We think that this is just the tip of the iceberg. We think there are many more crimes, and my concern
I
is
just realized like what Coke shaky looks like. By the way, you guys just made me realize like it literally looks like a cat. Like
yes.
what that emote could be fucking used for.
On Wednesday,
Thank you. Well done.
Protect him. Yes, the classic rubric. He indicted him to protect him. I got it.
I know who thinks that.
So, Congressman, you weren't able to see Tapper during that interview, right?
Because like I literally saw it like used in like when Morg Pie was like facing all of those problems. Like I clicked on her stream the other day, and I literally saw like the chat spamming it, and I was like, why are they using this fucking emote?
You see what happened there? He's making your investigation sound like a joke, and he's trying to make you look like.
I'm being serious. Like I just clicked for me now. I'm not got a dirty mind, dude.
Is a joke. How do you work around that? How do you work through that?
Well, that's the first time I went on CNN in 3 months.
Look, you guys know not to be weird like that, so I don't worry. But don't tell me. You know how weird Twitch is.
CNN just is hemorrhaging viewers every day.
You don't tell me I'm wrong.
Doing what he's told by his bosses at CNN, who are doing what they're told by their bosses at the Democrat National Committee. I mean, CNN is a wholly owned, unprofitable subsidiary of the Democrat National Committee. I mean, you look at the
Oh, by the way, guys, you can now twerk, grind, and pole dance on Twitch.
The easiest one to identify is violation.
I was just wondering why the chat was posting it so much in Morgpie's chat. And it just clicked for me now. It literally just clicked for me. Why the chat was posting it so much in Morgpie's chat. like frequently. I'm not saying that you guys use it in that way, but do not tell me I'm wrong, because you know I'm right on that take, especially in her chat.
You're a Newsmax guy. Like, the Newsmax guy is berating the fucking dude, leading the investigation.
People are posting Coke Shaky all the time.
It's so Jover, dude. There is nothing
I'm so grossed
more,
out.
There's nothing more Jover than this.
I hate Sniffer for that fucking reason. People say it's just a cute dog sniffing. I'm like,
Fox News guy.
okay, yeah, why is it only spammed when women on stream then?
Which there's a Fox News guy that's been berating him too, Deucey.
It's an emote, non-binary, don't stress. An emote of a cat taking
Deucey's been shitting on him for a
bottle
while
of Coca-Cola.
Because he sees the writing on the wall.
I use it when something looks like it smells good. Well, you're one of the few anomalous hollers.
This is what you got?
And just, so basically... No, just so everyone at home understands, and I know obviously, sir, you know this, but this indictment now gives Hunter the ability to show up on Wednesday and plead the Fifth.
Sniffer has always been a
because of
Kumi
this new
emote.
indictment.
It's not like
Jake Tapper,
it
that
got
seems like a foreign
sexualized.
concept to him. You called him
Like,
intelligent.
Sniffer
I'm
was-
not sure I agree.
In definition.
Well, you know, at the
Kumi
end of the day,
emote.
I had just done NBC Meet the Press. First time I had gone on NBC Meet the Press in 3
People have tried
months.
to like
And
fucking
we
say
got
I'm wrong
into
on
a
this, and I am not. I am
shouting
not
match
wrong.
in that one because they were just lying. They were just.
I doubt it was sexual at the start.
Come on, dog.
Does it matter?
He's like, apologize. I'm sorry. I know.
It's
a bad
about the
idea.
usage. It's like Twitch
It's
didn't
such a
upload fucking
ripperoni.
try hard to be racist.
Bros, Newsmax.
Still banned from using in this chat and Hassan's chat.
You never Newsmax like this, okay? This is when you Newsmax too hard.
To the abortion battles playing out across the country, the new fallout after the Texas Supreme Court ruled against a woman who sought an emergency abortion there. As a new case now plays out in Kentucky. Rachel Scott is here with more. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Robin, good morning. From Arizona to Texas to Kentucky.
I don't know what's going on.
Zenodo, I already hated Sniffer, but do you know what made me despise Sniffer? Do you want to know? Because this is fucking dark. And this is why Hassan's, like I will always be the biggest critics of Hassan's chat because I am a Hassan Abi chatter. I will always scream at motherfuckers doing shit like this. Do you want to know what broke me on the fucking Sniffer emote? When Hassan was doing the earthquake stream, in Turkey, there were dogs brought into to look for bodies. Sniffer dogs. What did chat post? So insanely disgusting, dude. Holy fuck.
Access to abortion rippling across the country. From Arizona, where the state Supreme Court is hearing arguments on whether to enact a 19th century law that would ban abortion entirely.
Abortion is healthcare. For over 100 years, Arizona has protected life from the
I will never ever. You will never
To
get
Texas,
Sniffer
where
on this channel
31-year-old
ever.
Kate Cox took her pregnancy complications to court.
The
suing the state,
emote is
asking for
completely
an
ruined for me in
emergency
every single way
termination
now.
After finding out her
This is so crazy.
Yeah, this is the correct meta.
Literally a non-viable fetus. This is her third. This is her third child.
And it still got beaten by
She already
Seismic,
has
you
two
see.
kids.
Has it sound so when he's even
Non-viable fetus.
I'm sure it's going to be a Christmas thing, a Christmas holiday maybe. Like I'm sure it's his parents wanting to go away for Christmas. Yeah. Oh, I got to remove the emo from my thing. I just have never seen like the only time I've ever seen it being used in a valid way is like when chats are like peepo flower, I have a flower for you, and someone's like sniffing the flower. You know?
Texas has a narrow exception to save the life of the mother. Cox was certain she would qualify. Her doctor said her uterus was
Every
at
other
risk of
time, it's
rupturing
either been
and warned her
sexual or
future
completely
fertility
inappropriate.
Could be in danger. But the Texas Supreme Court ruled against her, stating some difficulties during pregnancy.
Or when Kaya
even
beeps the
serious
camera,
ones,
true.
do not
You're right,
pose the
Timani,
heightened
you are
risks
correct.
To the mother,
Or when
the
Kaya's
exception
sniffing, you're right.
encompasses. Her lawyer said she had no choice but to travel out of
Okay, yeah,
state.
then that's fine.
Patients can't be running to
There
court
can be
every
ways.
time they need urgent health.
How fucking nuts is that? Like, non-viable fetus, and the court is like, yeah, nah, you just gotta carry that fucking dead baby pregnancy to term. Sorry. Like, what are we doing? Are you, what
Never
the
missed
fuck?
chance to see her friend figure out what it was.
No,
Sniffing
don't
was
say
an interesting
Taliban.
idea.
No,
Yeah.
that's bullshit. Okay, abortions are
It's not. It
permissible under
hasn't. By the way, it
Islam.
hasn't been ruined by like Hassan's chat. Just have a look at XQC's chat.
This is our shit.
Okay. Like
this shit is homegrown. This is some Al-Qaeda shit. It's not Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda. Fuck you mean Taliban? You know what I mean? It's fucking bullshit. This is literally homegrown. So crazy to me.
Care. It's really a human rights violation.
Within hours of
look at
Kate Cox
XQC's
filing
chat?
that
I
lawsuit,
don't know.
another emerged in Kentucky. A pregnant woman suing her home state for the right to
Are
an
they
abortion.
in like queer folk? There are lots of queer like and LGBT members who like fucking juices, dude. It's like essentially like they don't really moderate anyone's political stance. There are a lot of like leftists who love XQC, and I understand why. XQC is really funny to watch. Okay, but you're not going there to like XQC also has like and people are gonna hate me for saying this, but like he does have very good takes on certain things. Okay, he's not weird about like people being gay or anything. Okay, it's like not at all. But like they do gang up as a community on what XQC doesn't like. Like, it's also not good to go out and, like, you know, demonize, especially because, like, there are, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, he has a serious gambling problem. That's, like, my biggest, like, that is actually genuinely my biggest criticism of XQC, is the gambler. It's really bad. But, like, look. Yeah, he's not a hateful person. And he has had some, like, insanely good takes. Like, takes that, like, I've been shocked with. And he did go through a period of being, like, a really good person. Weirdly enough, like, it's as confusing as it sounds, he did. But, yeah, not anymore. Like,
court order on that quarter, but the Supreme Court said, let's put a pause on all of that. Let's let the case go through the normal process.
Yeah, it was a phase.
It's now reached its doorstep, and today the justices agreed to take up the case, which means they're going to hear oral argument. They'll take consideration of it, and then we probably won't see a decision until June. That's when we usually see sort of the hot button decisions
you
drop.
take on Palestine?
Yeah,
I don't want to get BMG
like people have a sense of what
like
is
just listen to like XQC's take on poor people. Like, nah, but also he's like. He's very, very gotten far, far removed from like people. He is incredibly. What do they say about like rich people? You're like, I can't remember the word for it. They try to say Hassan's always like that. Not disconnected. There's another word for it. Out of touch. Yeah, he's very out of touch. Like completely. Like way more than most. And he's let it get to him. Yeah. No. He didn't. Was it that? Entire bloodline? Oh, okay.
Copium.
But also, like, when you guys understand, like, XQC didn't come from wealth.
It's such fucking...
Okay, like, I will not defend XQC, but I will, like, do material analysis on him. Motherfucker has a, like a fucking forklift license.
Easier to get the pill, so getting it by mail during COVID was a big one. Not having to go to a doctor's
Which is hilarious to think about.
And so if, in fact, the court keeps that lower court's order in place, if the Supreme Court agrees with that lower court, then it will be harder to access the pill. You will still be able to get it. It will just be much, much harder.
Okay, that is one that could affect millions of Americans.
The most commonly used pill in the country.
And not just for what people think of as the stereotypical abortion, but people who are even going through miscarriages and other health issues that would require
all of that.
This kind of abortion pill.
Finally
Thank you
have
very much,
access
Laura
to
Jo.
my food benefits, won't cover my living expenses, so I got awarded £100 to help out in the short term. That's great, non-binary. Feel free to reach out if you have any help.